let's get on and let's tie up the good old Purple Rain. This is a 1/8 on a #1 sickle hook. We actually poured these ourselves and painted them. But if you want to get some that's unfinished at your local tackle store, Walmart, the colors that I used was LA colors in white and LA colors in this like clear purple flake. Now, I started using the white and LA colors in this quick color. It's a thicker paint, and one coat gets it done when covering that gray look of that lead. And it's better than the other that I was using. And then we put on 2 coats of, this is called, what is this called? This is called Jelly Cute right here. And I put a couple coats of that on, UV-RESINed it, and it was ready to tie. That's like $1 a bottle. And you see what pretty jig heads that you could turn out with fingernail polish. But we're going to start out with some black thread. We're going to be doing a black color in this today. And as always, we're going to work our way right down to the bend of this hook because we're going to be adding that hackle in. So we'll go right to the bend, and we'll work our way right back up to the tip of the hook right there. Get our scissors over here, get that tide cut. And the first thing that we're going to be adding, I cheated a little bit, and I've already V'd up the purple. We're going to be using the tip end of that purple hackle for the tail on this jig right here. So we'll just flatten him out a little bit right there, and we're going to lay him right back here. I want it to stick over about a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch off the back of this jig, and I kindly lay my hackle on the side of the shank when I start tightening it down with a thread, because hackle will kindly roll with you. And when I lay it on the side of the shank and start wrapping it, it kindly just sets it right up on top. It works. It works for me. So that's how I've learned to do it, to keep it from rolling over the hook. And then I'll just go right down it, tighten it down right there. There we go. Next thing that we're going to be using, we're going to be adding some purple, greenish looking flash. Now, you can go with a purple, you can go with an aqua, a white. It really doesn't matter, but I got this color here. I absolutely love it. I think it'll look good with that jig. And I already got some cut right here. 3 strands that I've got cut. We're going to just square it out here, get them all the same length. And I want this to come right back to the end of that hackle tail that we got right there. So I'm going to lay it right on the side of the shank, and I'm going to give it a few tight wraps here, locking it in. And then the next thing I want to do is just take this excess and run over and lay it right down on the other side of that hackle tail. A few nice tight wraps right there. And then we're going to go ahead and cut this to length right there. Oh, I left one on him there. There we go. Now we're just going to go ahead and lock all this in nice and tight here. Run up toward the back of the jig head, and then run right back down to where we started out with this hackle tail. Now we're going to V out this gray one here. I'll show you how I do it here if you've never done this before. I always save the tips of these for the next jig that I tie in the tail. You can see right there. I'll just run my scissors in, push down, clip it, and that gives you, if I can pick him up, that gives you that little tail like on that purple right there. Now I'll just slay it to the side. I always save those. And now I'm not going to bore you with this, but I'm just going to run down and V all these out down through here. And like I said, I'm going to get rid of this smaller V right here. There's what you got. I just run in there, push down, and clip it. Add a gray one. We're going to add it right to the side. I'm just going to take it and smooth it down a little bit like so. Pinch him up, lay him right on the side of that shank, and then give him a couple nice tight wraps there, locking him into place. And then we're just going to keep repeating it. We're going to start out with a purple now. And we're just going to go right over to the other side with it. Locking him into place like so. And we're just going to keep staggering these up. Now, the way I usually do it when I'm doing this is I'll go 2 on the sides, and then I'll do 2 on the bottom, like 1 on the bottom and 1 on the top. Now, next we're going to do a gray one. We're going to pinch him up. We're going to lay him right on top of that shank. And we're going to give him a couple of nice tight wraps, just like so. And then we're going to get us another purple one. And we're going to go right underneath that jig right there. And we're going to give him a couple wraps as well, locking him into place. There we go. And then we're going to do 1 more purple on the side and 1 more gray, and then we're done with the hackle. Tighten that down. 1 more gray. And then put a nice tight collar on him. And then we're going to work our way right up to the back of the jig head. And at this point now, what I want to do, I'm going to work this back down a little bit, and I'm going to kind of flatten that hackle out back there. I'm going to bring back up to the back of the jig head, and at this point, I'm going to take a little bit of UV-RESIN, and I'm going to put 1 little drop right back here on that collar. Just rub it in with my fingers there. And then I'm going to find my light, and I'm just going to hit him there. And all we're doing now is just hardening that UV-RESIN and just locking all that hackle in. Now the next step we want to do on this little jig here is we're going to add some more flashing. We're going to get about 4 strands of it. Cut him out right up next to that zip tie. Make sure they're all even. I'm going to turn my vise over, and I'm going to lay this right on the side of that shank. Give him about 4 or 5 nice tight wraps, locking him in. And then I'm going to flip him over. So we got that in. Now we're just going to go ahead, cut this excess off. Now we're going to turn our jig back over, lay it flashing down. Now we're going to build this collar up. Some nice tight wraps. There we go. Now the next thing we're going to be adding is some gray, just like a yarn type chenille. This ain't got no flash in it or nothing. And this right here is by Lady Fly Tire. I get this off eBay just like everybody else. I've got multiple colors in this. I buy feathers from her. She's super cheap. And she's one of my go-to places when I'm buying materials for my jigs and flies. So Lady Fly Tire, just search that up on eBay. And you can just see how much you get right here. You get a ton of this stuff at a super reasonable price. Now I'm just going to get a small piece of this right here. It doesn't take much because this is a 1/4 inch size chenille. And a little bit of this goes a long ways. And we're just going to pull some of the end off, exposing that thread that we can lock into up here. We're just going to give it some nice tight wraps, locking it in. Then we're just going to go around it once, lock it in. We're going to leave a thread right up toward the head of the jig, and then we're just going to start wrapping this. Nice tight wraps down that body. We're going to go right to where we built that big collar up, And then we're going to just work our way back up. And what I like about this kind of chenille, it is super soft, and you can just put pressure to it, and it will just hug right against that jig. Absolutely love tying with this right here. And then we're just going to go around it, locking it in real good. There we go. And we're going to cut this excess off. And then we're going to build our collar up. And then we're just going to work right down the chenille, real tight turns around it, locking it in good. Then we're going to work right back up to the back of the jig head. Now it's time to get this jig wilt finished. About 5 turns. Tighten him down good. Don't break your thread off. Get him cut. Lay some UV-RESIN to him. Then with a UV light. Well, there you go. The Purple Rain. I absolutely love using this kind of chenille. It is super soft, and it is easy to work with. And I didn't go with a flashy type, you know, because I'll put so much flashing into the Hackle feathers. This is an awesome jig for crappie. I mean, they absolutely love purple with that gray. Got that flash in it. Like I said, you can go with a pearl. You can go with like a white flashing. It doesn't have to necessarily be like the color that I'm using. And yeah, super simple, super effective jig. And guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, I hope you give us a thumbs up. I'd much appreciate that. That'll help our little channel out. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell, and you'll be notified every time we upload here on the channel, whether it's fishing or jig tying or coyote hunting, whatever we're going to be doing. And guys, don't forget to go over and follow us over on Facebook. Join our group on Facebook. All the links down in the description along with our TikTok and stuff. Until next time, stay safe out there on the water. Happy jig tying, and we'll see you right back here in the next one.